What is happening, everybody? My name's Seven and welcome to a Fortnite video. In today's video I'm going to give you 10 awesome tips that will help you a lot in the game, especially if you are a beginner. You might already know this if you're somebody who's a pro with Fortnite, but still stay tuned in and see if I say anything that you didn't already know. I wish you all the very best of luck in your future games. Now let's get straight into Fortnite Battle Royale tips. Woo! Tip number 1 is all about when you jump and how you do it. Now, if you're a competent player and you've played loads of this game already, I'm pretty sure you already know where you want to jump and how you want to do it, when you want to do it, so I won't tell you what to do. But a tip for beginning players is that you want to be 100% confident about where you're jumping. The best way to grasp a real good idea of the map, where you want to land, where you want to go, where you want to fight, is to wait and see where other players actually jump. Now, you'll see when we get over the island, once it is an option to jump, loads of people initially jump out and then spread across the map. Sometimes as a beginning player it is best to wait until you get further in the map so that you can go, okay, let's go to this location or let's go to that location. But ultimately, even when you're flying downwards towards the ground, you want to make sure that you're watching where other people are going so that you can try and avoid that initial conflict when you land on the ground, so you can do some looting undetected. Tip number 2 is all about where you land. So this is very similar to the first one, other than it's more detailed on the actual looting aspect. When looting, you need to make sure you land in a rich environment. Now, in this game, and just like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, it is RNG, so it will spawn randomly, so you can land pretty much anywhere where there are buildings and different items. But this tip is all about landing on a roof. If you're coming over a city, or you're going over a little town, or even over a single standalone building, as you can see here, you can see a golden chest. Now this chest will provide you with a weapon and sometimes with different items, so you can get really good items from these chests. I've had legendary items before, so make sure that you land on the roof first, and this will pretty much guarantee you a base set of loot, which is enough to keep you alive. This is one of the best techniques because a lot of people either have to go to the basement of the house or the roof of the house to get these chests, so land on the roof if you're coming in from the plane. Tip number 3 is going to be very simple, but it's very effective. Don't forget that you have the building mechanism. So many people have just jumped into this game and went for the whole killing aspect of it and just ignored the fact that they can build. The building towards the back end of the game helps so much, honestly. Like the fact that you can build walls and defend yourself and build towers and all sorts of different crazy structures honestly makes a big difference. But not only just when you're fighting, you can also use these structures and this building aspect to get to new areas. As you can see from the clip in the background, I utilize this to get up to some crates, whereas then there is a golden chest. In this golden chest I found some really cool items that I wouldn't have found if I hadn't built all the way up to here. Now at first, when I first played this, I kind of ignored the building factor, and so if you don't have the main game, it's something you're probably not going to even really consider doing. But definitely learn how to use these mechanics because it will keep you alive and get you that better loot very quickly. Moving on to tip number 4. Now this is all about bullet drop. Bullet drop is one of the craziest things in any game. If you don't get it right, you're going to like miss every time. Now if you don't believe me, I am actually centered on this fellow with this pistol and I am hitting the shots that I'm shooting, but they aren't registering simply because of the bullet drop. Now the first 2 shots I didn't really take bullet drop into consideration. I thought maybe it'll be fine, we should be able to hit him, it's a pistol, we're reasonably close together, so hopefully, you know, it would be dandy. But it wasn't until on the 3rd shot I took where I actually put into consideration the fact there was distance between us, and this shot is the final bad boy of a shot. So I lifted it slightly higher. With him running straight, I got a hit direct into his back. Now the same thing applies with sniper rifles. Of course, the longer the distance, the more the bullet drop. Now I don't really know how to scale it yet, but other than keep in consideration that at longer ranges you will have to fight against the bullet drop in the game. Moving on to tip number 5. Yeah, boys and girls, we're moving on. We're halfway through the video already. So this one is all about silence. So when you're moving around in buildings, as you can hear a player building and digging up different items. Now, this is a mistake I made. Now you're seeing the anti of what you should do, so don't do what I do. Now I'm lagging for some reason in the game as well, but basically when you enter a house, especially if the doors have been opened or you hear digging and building, what you want to do is make sure that you hide, so you crouch. Now this player was upstairs and I could hear them breaking items, so I go up and I managed to get the kill. But even at this point, I was too focused on what items I was doing and about healing my character, when this whole time there was a player downstairs who was walking around. Now, if I'd actually listened, and also when I'd entered the building, if I'd crouched, I wouldn't have died in this situation. So utilize the crouch feature, because it honestly keeps you alive much longer and keeps you quieter. Moving on to tip number 6, this is going to be about the shield. Now, the shield is extremely important. As you can see from here, we actually collect a shield potion. Now, the shield potion takes a slot in your inventory, so you don't need to worry about this though. You can just pick up any items it replaces once you get it. As you're able to see from the background, when you pop this on, it'll give you 50% of shield. Now, this is one of the craziest things about Fortnite in comparison to other battle royales, is that you can practically double your health if you find 2 shield potions. Not only shield potions though, but make sure that before you advance too far into the game, you need to make sure you have the bandages and those medkits, because in those tight sticky situations later in the game where you do get damaged, you will need these meds. A lot of people, like I say, even forget about the building, the meds, etc., and they literally just get a gun and that's it. They go after the kills and they don't even consider anything else in that game. So definitely pay attention to getting shields and med packs. Moving on to tip number 7. Now, this is all about traps, and this is a great example. So what you want to do is you want to set a trap up somewhere in a building. Now, warning, electric traps make quite a bit of noise, so anybody with a good headset will notice this. But if you set traps up on the outside of buildings, roof traps, in the side of houses, make sure it looks like nobody's came in. An enemy can stroll along with very much ease and just like nearly die, or even die straight away from the traps that you place. Now, just like the building aspect, you know, a lot of people don't really utilize the fact that there are traps in the game, especially when building your own forts. Whether you build a little fort along the way or whether you decide to build something towards the back end, and you always want to make sure you use these traps, because ultimately, even if you're further into the map and you've left this little building you had built before, the traps could get you a free kill, and they're really handy. But once again, not many people use it, so get on it and use them before others start using them regularly. Moving on to tip number 8, we're very much close to the end of the video. This is all about the barrier. Now, there are 3 stages to the barrier in Fortnite, and this barrier is something you must avoid. At all times on the map, you have an arrow that tells you in the direction you need to run to get into the playable zone. Now, you can see this giant shield that is basically shielding you from the outside version of the map. Now, this will keep compressing in, and it will do it 3 times. The first one compresses in reasonably slow, and this is the one that I'm at right now. Now, you need to make sure you always get away from this. As a countdown, it warns you at all times, like, hey, it's coming in. The second one moves much faster, and it's faster than any of the other barriers. And then the third one is going back to its slower pace, and that's the one for the final round. So once you get further into the game, it doesn't speed up. It's only the second barrier that moves faster. But pay attention to the barrier at all times, because it could kill you just as easily as an enemy. Tip number 9. We are very much close to the end of the video. This is all about upgrading your weapons and the different rarities of weapons in the game. Now, in the game, there are so many different types of weapons. You can get greens and blues and purples, and you can also get orange. Now, orange is the legendary, and this is the best that you can get at the moment in time. Now, I'm not sure if they're going to introduce anything higher than this by using the crates. So as you can see from this, I'm using an uncommon submachine gun, and overall this will cause more damage than a standard weapon. The higher you go up through the colors, the more chance of causing more damage, so you always want to upgrade your weapon. Now, when I killed this player, they dropped a better version of an assault rifle, so when I headed up here, you could see I could then pick up a ranged assault rifle that was green. So this semi-auto rifle now became mine, and so you will find items like this throughout. You can get legendary rocket launchers and snipers, and all of which are things you must always take into consideration. And we have made it to 10 tips. We are here finally. With the 10th tip, this might seem very basic, but once again, just like the sound horn that I mentioned earlier on in the video, you have to be very careful with how you switch between your weapons. If you constantly keep switching and switching and switching between your weapons, you will be heard. For every switch, other players can hear this in buildings and vicinity. But not only that, when you're moving in open spaces, you should always have your ranged weapon on hand, and in a closed building, you should always have your pistols or your shotguns that you carry on hand, simply because they are much better in those close proximity areas. So me running through the field here with a semi-automatic isn't going to help, but me also switching between weapons also isn't going to help me as a player. I hope these 10 tips help you guys be introduced to Fortnite, and I look forward to doing more. Fire your tips in the comments below and you might get featured in a future video. My name's B7, also known as Martin Wood. Like and comment on all that you love. Take care of yourselves, guys. Peace.